We'll get started. Okay, thanks everybody for coming to the April Masterclass. I'm excited to have two special guests here today to talk about meetings that rock. So our guest speakers today are Matt Weideman and Heather Dolan. Both are currently presidents of their Rotary Club, and they came highly recommended as people who have really good meetings. So they're going to share some tips and just different things that they do to create a great meeting and a great environment within their club. But I would like to take an opportunity to just tell you a little bit about each of these folks too. So Matt lives in Pickerington. His kids go to school in Westerville, and his wife Amy is a teacher in Westerville, but he is a member of the Lancaster Rotary Club, and he is currently the president there. He enjoys running, reading, and camping with the family, and tropical fish. So that's a fun fact. And then Heather is currently the president of the Zanesville Club, and she is a CPO with SEO CPA Group. She's a lifelong resident of Zanesville with her husband, Bob, and they have two very active young adult children, Libby and Gabe. And she still finds time for cooking, baking, working out, gardening, and spending time with her family and friends. So I very much appreciate both of you coming. We have some questions for you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and just ask the first question. We'll start with you, Heather, if that's okay, and then we'll go to Matt. And I know at some point you guys have some things you want to share. So whenever you're ready to do that, please feel free to go ahead and start sharing your screen when you want. Our first question is, how do you go about planning for your meetings?
So the first thing that I do is I create a PowerPoint. I was the girl in kindergarten who didn't raise her hand. I was the girl who held her note cards up here in high school speech. And so this is really far out of my comfort zone. So the PowerPoint is really my note cards. It keeps me on track. It keeps me I still get nervous before every meeting, but it keeps me on track and helps me be funny, because I'm really not a funny person, but I can build that into my PowerPoint. It usually takes me about 45 minutes to an hour, but if I get really energetic and excited about something that I want to show, I've spent as long as 3 hours. I don't encourage that, but it was fun for me to do. And that's usually after a big event that I really want to showcase during a meeting. We are hybrid, and so the PowerPoint works very well for both avenues. We're very lucky to have a program committee that schedules everything for us, so I don't have to worry about that part of it. In most cases, the presenter will send me the PowerPoint because I don't like transition during Zoom. Dana's very good at it. I'm not, so I want the PowerPoint embedded into mine so we don't have transitions, because then I get all hot and frustrated and all of that stuff when things don't work as smoothly and I'm up there in front of everyone. So I also have a tech team that helped me through that too. So there's lots of people involved in a meeting and planning it. So that's really what I do to get ready.
Thank you. Go ahead, Matt.
I was just gonna, on our end, we have a template agenda and we go through it a few days before the meeting. So our meeting's on Monday, so we do that Friday. And just, outline exactly what we're gonna do ahead of time, which for me is a great mental exercise because it really helps me nail down loose ends and recognize what's not settled yet. And then the two big things we do after that are we send an email out to everybody that has a role at the meeting. So if somebody's going to do the invocation, they get an email. We just group email the people that have a job. The club service chair is in that, and the program host and sergeant at arms and the raffle registration. Anybody that's doing anything gets an email 2 days before that says, "Hey, you're on deck to do this on Monday." And then the other thing we do, because we're going to be hybrid, but we're all Zoom right now, is we send out that link. It's the same link every single time. But our members expect the email to go out that says, hey, don't forget to show up, and here's the link to hit. And you can tell them 100 times it's going to be the same login. It doesn't matter. You got to give them the link, and if you don't, you get emails asking for the link. Don't just give them the number to plug in. You got to give them the link. So, but anyway, so that's what we do. And then our president-elect's in charge of the speakers. And so she does a great job of sending out an email to the people that are going to be guest speaking. And it tells them, look, you got to show up 15 minutes early, and gives them all kinds of instructions. And I know that she has it all like templated out, and she can just change the name, the date, and kick it out. So she's got a good system. But that's what we do to get ready for our meetings.
So it sounds like you guys are both really good planners and you do a lot of preparation. So I would say, if I'm going to sum it up into just one phrase, you do not recommend just kind of winging it.
No.
I'm going to tell my wife.
Hot.
I'm going to tell my wife you said I'm a good planner. She'll get a kick out of that.
It sounds like it to me, but I get you, Heather. I get the hot part because I've been there. Okay, so here's your next question. What do you do to generate some fun energy into your meetings? Heather, you want to go first again?
Yeah, so I can't take credit for this because my sergeant at arms is completely awesome about this. He makes up card games to get members networking with each other. It's usually like a blackjack or I can beat your cards and so on. So they challenge each other. And if you lose, you can challenge someone else or you pay $1. Those sorts of things. A couple weeks ago, he did this show and tell, so you could bring something interesting about yourself from your childhood. So Ed had brought, to introduce this, he brought basketball Converse from his middle school basketball team. So they were super cool. They were suede and everything. It was very neat. One member, Jeanette, she brought 3 horns arrangement. Her grandfather had spent a lot of time in Uganda. So, and he was on mission work. So that was really interesting to hear that. In the very beginning of the year, one of the things Ed did was to have everyone stand up at different, in order and say something that we don't know about you. And so Chuck, who's on the call, said he was good at woodworking, and a member, she said she made donuts for fundraising. So I kind of used those for later events. It was good to know because Chuck ended up putting together a bench in a park because he was good at woodworking, and she brought donuts that morning for our Good Neighbor Day event. So it was good to get to know people and what their talents are so that we can use them in Rotary. So those are the main things that we do for fun.
And that's a really well-developed use of your sergeant at arms. That's cool. Last time we talked about this, I started writing down notes because I want to steal a bunch of things from our club.
Yeah, he's awesome.
That's pretty cool. For us, we really focus heavily on the speaker. So we and our president-elect, like their sole duty for the whole year as president-elect is to find a speaker for the meetings. And some people assemble a committee to do that. Others just take it on themselves. But we all kind of in that role try to outdo each other on the coolness of our speakers. Some of the highlights that we've had, military chaplain came in and spoke about what it's like to be a military chaplain. We've done a lot of industry updates this year because our president-elect is a bank president who knows all of these business leaders. And so we hear like what's going on in their industries. We had the CEO of the hospital come in and talk about COVID. Superintendent of schools came in and talked about reopening schools. Local festival leaders come in. But, I guess I would encourage you too, especially with these hybrid meetings or Zoom, like you'd be surprised who will agree to come and speak to your club. For example, we had Lieutenant Governor Husted came and spoke kind of near the end of when they had shut everything down and kind of gave us an idea of what to expect going forward, which was people were really into that. We had the Auditor of State come in. He spoke about, these two are online, he talked about cyber security, which was not what we expected. I thought it was going to be a day in the life of an Auditor of State just because most people don't know what they do. And then we had a Supreme Court Justice from Ohio come in and gave a great presentation. as well. So our president designate, who's coming in as president-elect next year, I think is going to be using the platform to get some international speakers in. And so, yeah, you just never know who might agree to come to your club, but that's our main focus, is pretty much on the speakers.
That's awesome. Thank you guys for that. So what do you do in your club about things like Happy Bucks or 50/50s? Do you do anything like that? I was thinking, maybe Heather, was it you that mentioned about having a treasure chest of sorts? Yeah, so if you guys could share those unique ideas, I thought that was really fun, and I think everybody else would enjoy hearing those.
So we do Woohoo Moments, and again, that's Sergeant at Arms who does that. That's not as active as I was hoping, but that's okay. We do a treasure chest. It's had many names over the years. Redbeard's Ransom, and I don't know, some other things. But a third of the money collected that day, it goes to the kitty, a third goes to the club, and a third goes to the winner. And so we have this treasure chest, and they try to find the dime among the pennies. And so there's a penny in there for every member. If you pull the dime, then you get the kitty. So right now it's over $150. I've seen as much as 1,000. So that it's really fun to do that. You've got a handful of people who will do it. Another thing that we did today that was pretty cool. We did the Kick Cancer campaign and passed around a bucket. We found a basket, so I luckily we found that and it passed it, and we made $125 today. So it was pretty cool. That was very awesome. So we're going to do it one more time, and then we'll see where it goes from there. So those are a couple of the things we do for 50/50 and Happy Bucks.
Go ahead, Matt.
We do the raffle also. Maybe not as well though. That sounded pretty cool. Our Sergeant at Arms does the newspaper clippings and then finds anybody who is in the paper, or if, like, say the local hospital's in the paper and we have 3 people that are on the board of the hospital, all those people get fined, and then all the people that work there get fined. And it's fun because it helps recognize kind of everything that all these people in the club do in the community, which is pretty cool. We spend a lot of time recognizing our guests. We welcome back newish Rotarians at every meeting and kind of call them out personally and real specifically. And then we also recognize the if somebody's a guest, like an actual first-time guest, we spend a little time on them, and that's really what we do in this area.
Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, maybe it was you, Heather, if somebody gets fined, you waive it if they volunteered within the last week. Was that you? Or maybe that was you.
That might have been Matt. I don't know.
No, I know somebody did it, but it wasn't me. I love the idea.
Okay, I'm not sure where I heard that, but I thought that was a good idea. It was kind of another way to recognize people that they volunteered. Now you don't have to pay your fine. Yeah, good. Okay. So I also want to ask you, what are some other fun things that you have integrated? And I know when we met and talked about today, there were some things that there was so much good stuff. And so there were some things that you wanted to share. And one was the 125 videos. Another thing that I wrote down was 10 minutes for new members, and you asked them to share something funny, something about their family, maybe their hobby. Things like that. So whatever those kinds of things are that you want to share. So this time, Matt, I'm going to start with you to go first, and then we'll come to Heather.
Okay. So our club this year, we've done a lot of focuses where we focus on certain things. And so we did membership for 1 quarter, each one bring one, which is actually coming up next year as the main focus for the membership committee, I believe, at the district level. And, you wouldn't think that would work, but we've had pretty good success. We had 10 new members in 3 months. And so it's worked out really well. And so we've done that. And then at other times we focused on 125 Club. So we did the 125 Club for the first quarter. actually really the first 2 quarters. And then part of that is we created videos, because what we wanted to do was have videos to show at these Zoom meetings, but also have the videos that we could play in social media and help kind of gain, some awareness to the cause and also some members. And so I have one of those. I won't show you the whole thing because they take a little bit of time, but you'll get the idea pretty quick on what they look like. Okay. Yeah. Can everybody see and hear that?
We see, there we go.
Okay, can you see that? It says Rotary on it?
Yes.
Okay, here it goes. Okay, and then from that point forward, the person that is the recipient of the pin, they talk for a little bit about why they support the 125 effort, a little bit about polio. Each of them has some cool story. It turns out like about a distant relative that had polio, that type of thing, and really drives it home. So that's one thing we do, are the 125 videos. Really this year we were looking for something we could share on social media because so many people are focused on that now, and something we could play since the meetings are, it can get a little dull just online. So we wanted to have something we could play there. And then Dana mentioned our focus. We do those inward focus meetings where we have our new members that will speak about themselves for 5 to 10 minutes. And a lot of them really do great presentations, have a lot of funny things to share. It's really entertaining and fun to watch. So we'll usually do 2 new members. And then this year, our president designate, Jamie Culver, came up with the idea. He really wanted to have senior members spotlighted too, especially because some of the senior members weren't necessarily showing up to the Zoom meetings. And so we conducted kind of late show style interviews with the senior member on, in person. And then just for COVID's sake, the interviewer, which was President Designate Culver, was over here on the screen. And so we put those together as a video, and then we shared those on social media too. And I definitely can't show you this whole thing because it's like 20 minutes, but I'll show you just a little sliver of it so you can see what I'm talking about.
Presence of the Lancaster Rotary Club and Dr. Snyder, and it's just a shame that all of us can't be together in our regular meetings in person to share stories in person. But we are fortunate today to have Dr. Snyder with us. So Dr. Snyder, thank you for being with us, and look forward to hearing from you today. So I'm going to start with this. When, Dr. Snyder, did you first join Rotary? And what was your inspiration for joining the Rotary Club of Lancaster?
I joined Rotary in the fall of 1960, I think.
Okay, and so I kind of fast forwarded there so you didn't have to watch the whole introduction, but just so you have an idea of kind of what we do with that. And so So we'll do the 2 new members, and then we'll play that video with the senior member is during our inward focus meetings that we do like once a quarter. And those are kind of our main highlights, I think, for things that we do a little differently than that somebody might want to replicate.
Mhm.
The program to do that, I know as you look at that, you think maybe that's really hard to do, but there's a program called Adobe Premiere Pro. And so if you have a camera that has one of the little discs in it that you can stick in your computer, the SD cards, you can upload it to Premiere Pro, and it doesn't take all that long to figure out how to do all that, set it to music and everything. It's not as hard as it seems.
Okay, we might take you up on like a little how-to video to do that too. Because I think a lot of folks, they tend to not do these things because sometimes the technology can be a little intimidating, and I'm including myself in that. There's some things I can do, but when it gets fancy, I can't so much. But I want to just ask you, if I can, Matt, about when you have a new member who might spend 5 or 10 minutes and then you do a spotlight. It feels to me like you dedicate a good chunk of your meeting time to recognizing your members. Is that every meeting or just kind of periodically?
We've gone out of our way this year to recognize people that were guests, and even for several meetings after people get elected into the club, we'll mention that and say, hey, we'd like to make a special welcome here for so-and-so who's a new member. And we've really tried to do that because, to me, it's crazy when people join in these times and, they're not getting the full Rotary experience, to a great extent. And so we try to make a big deal out of it that they've joined. But yeah, so those meetings, we do them about once a quarter, and, you line up 2 or 3 of the new members for 5 or 10 minutes each, and then something with the senior member, and then you got a whole meeting. And we might do 2 a quarter, especially now we have a lot of new members. We might spend a lot of time on that going forward. But so far we've done, I think, 3 of those meetings during my year. We've done them every year that I've been in the club, but we continued it this year. And the inward focused ones, I can't tell you how interesting they are. And then you actually feel like that new member. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for that. Heather, how about you?
So very similar, we do member spotlight. I introduced a member spotlight video just because it's adds a little bit extra to it, to the meeting. And you don't necessarily have to be there. We are in person and have been all year, luckily. All the stars align on that, but those spotlight videos are also, you can do them in person too. So I leave it up to the member. I was pretty happy the first 4 or 5 months. I had one, I try to do one each meeting. So I was able to get through 5 months, and then everyone got shy on me. So sometimes I fill some things in. I did, maybe stalk what I stalked a member. He was helping out with one of our fundraisers, and I put together a quick video of him. I said it doesn't get him out of his member spotlight, but this will suffice for now. We did have an ugly sweater Christmas party, and we talked about some of the service projects. One of the things that I try to do is bring the service projects to the meeting after they happen, so people can see the pictures and the videos and the media coverage that we've gotten along the way, so that, so many times the service project is done and then it's over. Well, I want to keep celebrating it. So we do that through the meeting. So each time I'm trying to get those things. Another item that we do is a did you know, because one new member told me that she didn't know much about Rotary. So it'd be nice if we talked a little bit more about Rotary. So I do a did you know snippet. It's one PowerPoint that says, did you know this? And it might be an upcoming event. It might be a fun fact. It might be a quote, and it's just whatever I'm feeling that week. So those are basically those things. Ed did pass out around Christmas time little gifts for everyone. Ed is our Sergeant at Arms. And I got to be a ladybug of the day. I got an antenna of those, so I couldn't find it or I was gonna wear it. But yeah, so those are fun things to do. One of the other things, we have a 60-year member who has been out for health and medical reasons. I went to his house, masked and social distance and all that, but we did a spotlight video for him too. So it was a little bit longer, but everyone was so happy to see him. So it was good.
Yeah, that's nice. You guys have a lot of variety too, it seems like in both your clubs. You do all kinds of different things. So I feel like that helps it not get stale and doesn't seem like people mind changing it up a little bit just to have something new to talk about or a new person to see. So I like that. I wrote down a lot of great ideas. We do have just one final question, so I'll ask you guys to share in just a moment, but I did want to tell everybody who's kind of listening, when we'll go ahead and have Matt and Heather share kind of anything else that they do that maybe I didn't ask about. And then I thought, let's just go into breakout rooms for a few minutes with some other people and you guys share amongst yourself, what are some things you do? Then when we come back, I'm going to ask you all in the breakout rooms if you'll share some of the fun things that you do in your meetings so that we can all learn and take away some new ideas. I've already written down so many things and I just want to add to our list. And then also Matt and Heather, you guys could take some new ideas too. So go ahead, Matt. Is there anything else that you want to share before we go and break out?
Yeah, our club for a long time, not this year, but before COVID, we did Rotary on the Road. And so we would have several meetings each year that were on location someplace else. And just that variety was always fun. For example, the fairgrounds, right before the fair, would open it up and we'd have a catered lunch in one of the big rooms at the fairgrounds. And then the fair director would talk all about the county fair, which out here kind of, in the more rural areas, the fair is a huge deal. And so that's, but it actually, to be honest, in the city, it'd probably be more fun because the folks in the city maybe aren't used to it, but pretty cool. We did the local hospital. We usually do that every year. We incorporated CPR training one year after the lunch, which was fun. Then a festival has like an open area where you can go eat. And so we would all show up to the Lancaster Festival instead of having a meeting, and there'd be a table, you'd get checked in, and then all the Rotarians would all sit together and eat lunch. And then, one thing we haven't done, but would have if, and maybe we will here towards the end of my year, since the weather's nice, maybe outdoors at a park, show up and have like a smoked meat cook-off among the members, because a lot of the members of our club like to smoke meat. So just little ideas that we've had. The other ones we've actually done, that one's a new one. So we'll see.
Very cool. I love that Rotary on the Road. That's fun. I was thinking I don't know if anybody's here from the Jackson Rotary Club. They do some spotlights of local businesses and they do a Facebook Live. If you haven't seen those, it's kind of fun and it just spotlight businesses. It's, some good PR, if you will, and just really fun to watch if you're on Facebook. So Heather, what else do you want to share?
So just to kind of pull everything together that I've talked about, I'd like to share a PowerPoint presentation. So this had a lot of today's meeting in it. There's some settings here. So this is my script. This teaches me how to remember to turn on the mic because I had struggled with that the first few meetings. So that helps me get through that. We have our pledge of invocation. We have somebody do that each time. I want to try to get as many people involved in the meeting as possible so that I'm not the one talking. We do News at Noon with George Hyotis. He's from our local Wiz station, and he helps us get media coverage. And he tells a very bad joke at the end. Most of them are good, but some of them aren't so. We look at introduce guests and visiting Rotarians during the meeting. And then here's our Did You Know? And I gave a couple different examples of this. So this was about our youth exchange. And Marion is a committee member that's part of our club and very active in that. She's actually one of the chairs. I also talked today about this master class. That was a little nerve-wracking for me, but I'm really talking about the great people that make my meeting happen. So we talked about that. So Sergeant at Arms, this was Ed. I kind of changed this up with different pictures and things like that. So chasing money, and I put a Santa hat on him one time. And then we do have Venmo available if somebody wants to pay fines or donations or anything like that. They can send it to me and I'll get it to our treasurer. This was one of the gifts that our Sarge passed out for Kelly. So she was adorned with fancy sunglasses and a headpiece. So that was very fun. We also, so here's our member spotlight. So past president and our current mayor, Don Mason. I'll just play a snippet of this. This is the spotlight this is the video that he sent in.
You might be hearing what he's saying. I'm not hearing it. I'm not
Oh, really?
sure.
Okay,
Anybody else hearing it? Okay,
sorry. How do I make that happen?
that's okay. I think that when you hit share screen, you might have had to hit share sound at the bottom. So,
Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. You can go
This
ahead.
is Rotarian Don Mason.
Okay.
I joined Rotary because when I was growing up, it seemed like all the leaders in our community.
But that's the general idea to give you. They're usually between, well, a minute to 5 minutes is how long they've been. So pretty quick, pretty short, or however long they want to be. We do recognition for 125 pins. And like I said, I try to get additional people involved with doing those presentations. So if they're not just listening to me, I just facilitate the meeting and not participate, I guess. We had Paul Harris Fellows that were recognized. One of our members honored his dad, so that was pretty special. And then, of course, a quote here, so that was during that. I always do news and announcements, and it just is whatever's going on at the time. And future events, dates to save. This also ends up into our master wheel, our weekly newsletter. So that's really helpful to get those things out too. So we had a couple of pages of that. And then this was a billboard of one of our members. So we throw that in there as I see them. If I see a funny picture of someone, I might put that up there. We've had some funny ones from the 70s and 80s. So, and then I talk about any district things that are going on. We sponsored benches for our local parks. So we wanted to show everyone what they look like. We also sometimes go on the road as well. So this was talking about and thanking everyone that made it happen. It was a different meeting. So I have notes down here at the bottom that help me remember who does what and all of that. So they're notes that maybe you might not see, but I do. And then we'll honor birthdays and anniversaries. Our program, so Kelly was our program today. We've also had End Polio Now as our program before. So this didn't happen all today. It's just an example of what we'll see. And then typically what happens, and I took it out, is there's all their PowerPoint presentations that are embedded in mine. And then the treasure chest we do, there's always a quote of the week, and I try to make the quote of the week relevant to our speaker. And then we do thank you 4-way test. This was a polio day, so I might change this to something Rotary. I look up images and quotes all the time, so those all go in there. And then, so that would be the end of our meeting. We recite the 4-way test and then we're done. But some of the meetings I will add in things like, here's what we did for Healthy Body, Healthy Minds project. And it just shows pictures and all the things that we did for that day. Just a recap and show people who were there. And it shows this to everyone who was at the meeting that maybe couldn't make it to this. And then this is what took me a few more hours than typical is this video. I'll just show a little bit of it. Hear the sound. I made everyone wait all of that too. So there's stuff. So that really gives an idea of what happened that day. And then we did a Good Neighbor Day. This was a different meeting that we highlight. This was under the Did You Know? And this is all the things that we did that day. This is all of our partners that helped with us that day. And our
beautification activity known as
twice for that one.
Multiple community organizations met at the Bethel.
And then before and after pictures were completely amazing. So there's before and after. There's Chuck with his benches. And check this one out. This was a abandoned house. We could see the front. There was a newspaper from 2016 on there. So we were able to social distance. We planted 30 trees. There were just fixed fences, mowed lawns, cleaned up. So there's the fixed fence. So it's just a recap of everything that we did. And we talked with neighbors. We talked with him for probably half an hour. And then there was a video to recap it that was posted on Facebook. And those are mostly just pictures. So a big thank you at the end. So that's just how we recognized everything that we did and had fun with and in pictures and videos. So.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing all that. And it looks like you guys did some wonderful stuff. But when you were talking at the very beginning about planning, you do a lot of planning. And I like your little idea about putting your notes down there so you don't forget to recognize someone, or you can just remember who to call on when you change something every week. So that was really good. Thank you for sharing that. And you guys have some pretty technical people with the video effects as well. So that was good. Okay. I'm going to go ahead now and send everybody into breakout rooms. So I'm just going to give you about 7 minutes. And when you come back, I would love to hear what are the really fascinating things that you heard other people share, or maybe you shared. And we'll see you back in just about 7 minutes. I'll bring you back. So no worries that you don't need to do anything. You should see a pop-up coming up on your screen, and you just accept, and it'll take you right into your room. And if you're having trouble finding it, let me know. Steve, are you there? Or Shane? Either of you guys need help going to a room? Recording. That's my error, but that sounds really fun. So not everyone else knows who's going to win, but whoever's calling it, you said, does know who the winner is. So they like practice ahead of time.
Yeah, and they do it as a business, and it's pretty big business. So I mean, you know, if you can sell tickets for it as well. So we've made a couple $1,000s, maybe several $1,000s doing it before. And actually at the POW Fest, we even did it one night for anyone for the city to come. And so it's pretty well attended.
Wow, that sounds fun.
The,
So Amanda, I wrote that down too. We'll have to do that.
Yeah, the other thing we do is on our regular clubs is you can, on your wedding anniversary or your birth date, people actually donate that dollar value to our foundation. And then we do Happy Bucks like everybody else, and then we do have a card game that has been there for years. And when you walk in, you buy actually you buy a ticket to pick a card, and they're $1 a piece. And then they go through and draw that number off the tickets. And then you get to pick a card out of the deck. There's hidden in the deck is a special card. And if the person that picks that card gets the money that's in the kit. So every time it just gets bigger and bigger.
That's cool, Jerry. My old club in Illinois did that same thing, and the pot would get really big sometimes because it, kept rolling over. And so sometimes it could be, well over $1,000. And then of course people are buying up the tickets because the pot's so big.
That's all I had.
Thank you, Jerry. Go ahead.
So if you could say again, when it's your birthday, you announce that it's your
So
birthday.
on your birthday and you're 29, then you send up, you say, I'm donating $29 today to the foundation. Or if it's your anniversary, you do, sometimes they do them together, $45 for your anniversary and then your age for your birthday.
Interesting. Thank you.
And they've done that for years too. And everybody doesn't do it, but a lot of people do it.
We do.
Hey,
We
go
do a
ahead.
similar. Oh, I was just going to say, Dana, we do a similar thing, but instead of the person donating, we have the other members give the money in that person's name.
That sounds fun. That sounds really nice too. Okay, who else? I know Louis and Michael, you guys were in a room all by yourselves. Because we had one other person who wasn't able to join the breakout. So what did you guys come up with, either one of you guys?
Well, one thing that I picked up when I was when I go to Aruba is that their meeting, whoever's birthday it is, that person buys a round of drinks for everybody in attendance. And if you skip your birthday week, you still have to buy it when you return. And that includes guests.
Club or an evening club?
How many members are in this club?
They meet in the evening. They meet at a casino. But they've been doing that tradition for over 20 years. So.
Yeah, and I wonder, it sounds like they have a very thriving club.
I'm
So
just imagining buying a round for 220 people. Get expensive fast.
Well, they usually have about 30 to 35 show up to their meeting. And
That's not bad.
Got to remember that at the Aruba Club, when I was there, I sat next to the country's finance minister and to 2 ambassadors.
oh wow,
So that's the kind of people who go to their club.
very unique makeup there. So that sounds cool, but yeah, that could get expensive too. Okay, any others before we go? Because I wanted to just ask if anybody, has something that they kind of took away from tonight too, that you might want to try at your club. So either of those things that you want to share before we go.
I thought the video on highlighting older members, I thought that was great. Because over the years, we've had older members who have been moved to other communities but still kept their membership, or were in retirement homes and stuff like that. So I think that would be kind of a cool aspect to add to our new member bios that we have in our club.
Yeah, good.
I really liked that piece as well, because we have a lot of our older membership or our leadership that knows that older membership really well, but a lot of our new membership don't know those members, and they have, you know, a lot of years that they've been in the club and some really interesting stories. So I think it could be really fun to highlight them for some of the newer people that are coming in. You know, for us, they're these characters that are always sitting at the same table, but giving us the opportunity to introduce them to some of the new people coming in could be really fun.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Amanda. Good. Okay, well, I hope you all had something that you took away and that you'll find useful to try in a coming meeting. And even if you are not the president of your club or not in line to be the president anytime soon, just things you can share with others. So you can add some variety and some fun and just things that will really engage people and help them get to know one another, I think is really helpful. And I would like to just take a moment and say a special thank you to Heather Dolan and to Mount Vitamin for sharing from their club all the fun things they do. You guys were highly recommended, and I can see why. You've got a lot of great stuff going on. Any final words before we hang up tonight from anybody?
Well, Dana, I was just.
Dana, could you keep this thing running? Oh, sorry.
Yes, I can. Yeah, go ahead, Price.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say what I took away, and as I look at the participants on this this particular master class, it looks like a lot of folks, you know, are kind of in leadership roles in their clubs or have been in leadership roles. So this may not be very beneficial, but I was just thinking about, you know, Heather's initial comments about, you know, having things to be organized. And I got the impression that maybe she might describe herself as more introverted in some ways. And I thought that's really cool. And I think it's important to point out that you don't have to be a certain kind of person to lead your club. And you can bring really great ideas to your meetings, regardless of what might be your kind of starting place, with some creativity and some just thought about what you can do to make your meetings fun. I wish I was at some Zanesville meetings to see Heather wearing her ladybug antennae or her Santa Claus hat. And I definitely want to get around to more club meetings and see what Linda's doing and at the Belpre Club and so forth. So it really is fun to hear. The other thing I wanted to point out is that Matt, and I don't know, Matt, if you want to share really quickly, but I know you had made trying to get people signed up for Rotary Direct to a kind of a focus for you, and you'd had some real success in getting people to do that. As you want to share what you did there?
Yeah, sure. Our fourth quarter focus, so fourth quarter of the Rotary year focus is getting more people on Rotary Direct, where you get the recurring withdrawals out of your debit or credit card. And we had 4 going into it. Our goal is, it's called 10 by 10 because 10 is the minimum donation. So we want to get 10 more donating at least the $10. And so far we've had pretty good response. We've got 9 as of today, plus our 4 equals 13 total. And so one of the ways that I have sold this is, you know, I explained all the different clubs. Some of you all's club were mentioned, and you know how many of these great pillars of Rotary have, and that we might be able to even match or beat some of those. And so there's a little bit of that going on, but also
competition. You
know, people realize it's a great way to, a little competition, and they realize it's a great way to give too. It's just an easy way to get your, you know, your sustaining member for the year, that type of thing. I wanted to show a songbook here to Amanda because you've probably never seen one, but this is a Rotary songbook, and it has specific Rotary songs in it, like Sing Out a Song of Rotary, for example. And then in the back, these are specific songs for our own club. So if you're not a singing club, I thought you might be interested in that. So
maybe,
especially as you move.
Are you from Gallipolis, Matt?
No, Lancaster, and we sing.
Well, I was going to say
Older
Gallipolis
members-
is a singing club.
Hey, Matt, maybe you want to take us out.
Our
with
older members will be-
ROTARY.
Matt, why don't you lead us out? with
No
a
way.
song?
I don't know if I could. You don't want that. But I'll tell you though, our older members.
And Price could dance
When we
to
do
it.
these spotlights, one of the things they all say, all the older members wish we sang more than we do. And we already sing 2 songs per meeting, not during COVID, but we sing the Star Spangled Banner and then we sing the whatever Rotary song is picked. So.
Wow.
You know what, when I was in Texas, we did the same thing. We had 2 songs and one of our members was a really good piano player and we had a piano in our meeting space. And I'm telling you, I know some of you will disagree, but I thought the singing was like the best part of our meeting. It just, everybody was just really upbeat and excited about it, you know, and then it was like back to business.
Yeah. And I tell you, that Chillicothe Club, the lady brought in an electric piano every Thursday. They're into it.
That's commitment.
Well, you
I
guys
like it.
inspired me for something that I'm going to try on my club. I'm going to ask them to bring their baby pictures when it's their birthday. And I'm also going to call June marriage month, since it is June brides, and have them bring all their wedding pictures. Now, some of that might embarrass some of them because maybe they're not married now, but it'll still be fun to bring them.
Yeah.
We were all beautiful then.
Yeah. And they could be optional if they don't want to bring them.
That's right. If
But
they
it would
don't want to
be-
participate.
You're right. That'd be really fun to have those all posted and see what everybody looked like. My wedding was $150, so you know it was not anything to write home about. Okay, well, thanks, everybody. This was wonderful. I'm glad we got some really great ideas. We got it recorded so we can share it with people who couldn't make it tonight. We actually had 39 people who registered, so I'll be sending the video off to those that couldn't make it. But thank you again to our speakers and to everybody for coming.
Okay.
Good to
Thank
see you all.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Dana.
Bye.
Thanks, Dana. Thanks, Matt. Thanks.
Thank
Heather.
you, guys.
Thank you.
guys.
Is
Oh,
Dana
it's
still
fun.
here? Or Steve Heiser? Maybe you know, I cannot find recordings of meetings that we've had. Can you give me a hint where to look?
Yes, if you go to the district YouTube page, so go to YouTube and you.
YouTube, okay,
Yeah,
I got
search
you.
Rotary District 6690, they're all.
Yes, okay, thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. You're welcome. Heather, thank you so much. It was awesome. Your PowerPoint is amazing.
Yeah, great job, Heather.
Yeah.
One for me, Dana.
I'm sorry, Steve?
I say, Sheila, remember, if you want to get an answer, you can't ask the district governor. Yes, you have to have someone who knows the answer.
I would guess that you knew that one.
Yeah, I thought, well, I just didn't want to bother you because I thought if he's doesn't have it offhand, he's going to spend time looking for it and I don't want to take his time. So I'm glad I asked at this meeting.
Yeah. And Sheila, what club are you with?
Athens.
Athens.
Uh-huh.
Are
Yeah,
you in the same club as Jenny or the other, or in the?
no, she's in the Athens Sunrise.
Okay.
And I'm in the Noon Club.
Very cool.
So, yeah, we've done a lot more collaboration with them this year. It's been fun. They're just a whole different group than we are.
Yeah, that's nice though. I like the
Yeah,
collaboration.
very nice, very
Guys,
nice.
I think that we need to collaborate more. Columbus and Upper Arlington, we need to collaborate more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, if we only we had a district governor who might like live in Upper Arlington or something like that and be a member of the Columbus Club. I don't know.
It would be nice if, you know, it would definitely be nice if your district governor would do something.
And Steve, you're gonna have so much more time on your hands come July 1, right? Maybe.
That's what I keep telling that's what I keep telling Karen. She keeps saying, I'll believe it when I see it.
Right.
I think
That kind of person.
yeah, I think she's probably right, because you already got some ideas of things I heard you say you're gonna work on.
I was gonna say, I bet you have some ideas of some things that you're gonna do when you have a little more time to spend. I'm so excited to be membership chair And I'm thinking of doing some of these video things next year after I'm not president. And it's going to be a fun year, Steve.
Oh, it will be.
That's
Okay,
cool, Sheila.
I gotta get off this.
All right.
All right, good night.
Thanks,
Bye, all.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.